So today I'm going to show you how to change a clutch on a Subaru 5-speed manual. Hey look, there's my Forester. Anyways, so that's it. We're going to change a clutch. Kid wants this clutch changed with a light and flywheel, and I'll go through it with you people in a moment. Alright, so first things first, you always remove the battery. Simple, 10mm. Remove that, remove this, pull it out. Now to get the plastic things off, 10 mil, same thing, this one, and this pulls off. 10 mil there, 10 mil there, and you can use either 5/16 here or I believe 8 or 9mm, and that comes off, and then you have the engine exposed. So we'll start with that. Now for the fans, it's really easy. Just come over here, got a clip here, I just flip it up, pull it out. Same thing here. Push it up, pull it out, there you go. Fans are done. There's the 10mm bolts on the top. I'll show you right now what you do. It's pretty simple. You remove these here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh god, on this car you gotta remove it. Anyways, get the bottle off, remove 10 mils there. Once that's off, you can get to this one, that one, that one, and that one. And then what you have to do after is just pull them out. But before we do that, we could probably we'd use undo the bottom hose, and you let the coolant drip into the pan. I got a pan under there. So you do that, get all the coolant out. You don't have a choice, pulling the engine out. So that's what I usually do first. Get all the coolant out, make sure it's all out, and then I continue the job. Okay, so now down there you can see it's the rat's coming in, or I should say it's leaking in there. Anyways, I've disconnected that. That's the rest that's coming out of the engine. Now I got these undone up here. Let's pull this off. Yeah, start this on this side here, and then all you have to do is just pull up on these. What I should have done is I should have removed those guards, but anyways, gives you an idea. See, that's one fan. That's out. See, I take the bottle out, and always put bolts, nuts, and everything back where they go, because that way they don't have to look for them out there. That's one. This is gonna be a little tricky. No, not too bad. Yeah, well, I should have removed the guards. Yeah, see, I should have removed the guards, but anyways, come on. Ah, crap, I'm gonna have to remove them. Anyways, I'm gonna remove these guards. It's really easy. It's a 10 mil again. You got this one here, that one there, and that one there. Now these guards will be out of the way, so I'll get back to that after this. Alright, so to get this guard off, like I said before, I gotta remove these nuts here, this one here. I removed it already. The guards put aside. Now to get this one off, see, it's still stuck. You gotta get, it's a 12mm. Sounds healthy, doesn't it? You just unscrew it like that. It's normal. Aluminum. That's what aluminum does with steel. Makes some funny creaking noises. What you have to do is just remove this. Come on. Move it, back it up. There we go. Like so. You gotta push the back here. Come on. There we go. Now that's out. You see? Now you have all the fan belts exposed. So now what we're gonna do is, since I have to remove the alternator, actually I don't have to do that. I need to remove the power steering pump. I think it would be best if I just remove the alternator. I have more room to work. And the compressor. So to do that, I gotta loosen this nut down here, which is another 12 mil. Get this belt out of the way. Get these out. And this one here too, the tensioners here, and I'll be doing that now. Okay, so it's pretty simple. Loosen this, and then this part here, you unscrew, brings the alternator down to get the belt out. This one here, what you do is you loosen this, 12mm, then you screw in to pull the pulley up, get the belt off. That's pretty much where we are now. And then to get the rat out, it's pretty easy. These are 213mm, I believe. I'm sure it's 13. And no, it's actually 12. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these little clamps here. And the rad, there's like pegs on the bottom on each side. There's little pegs that go into holes. And then that should come right out. Alright, power steering pump. Pretty easy. You got a 12 mil here under here. And you have another one over here. And you have another one under here. Right here like that. Anyways, there we go. See? 12 mil. 12 millimeter. Put this aside for now. Pretty simple. And then you have your, depending on the car that you have, some cars have the overflow here. Or the bottle, or what you may call it there, the tank. Some of them have it, like on my car, is on top. It's a canister on top, but this model here has it on there. So what you basically do is you have another 10 mil here that holds this tab down, that holds the lines down. Pretty simple. Once that's all unbolted, oh, forgot to take this out. Can't go without this. There we go. Pretty simple as that. And clip it, and then you just pull it aside without damaging the car. There we go. See? Got their big hole now. Now we're going to do the same thing the other side for the air conditioner. This one is pretty straightforward. It's 14 mil. One there, one there, one there, and one down there. And that one's pretty funky to get to. What I do is I usually run an extension with a universal joint if you can fit one in there. But it's accessible. Or what you can do is remove this bolt here. Remove that one, and you have one back there. Down there. You can either do it that way to get this whole system out, but what I like to do is I like to keep this brace in there, because I'd rather just remove the pump and keep this brace, because I'm going to run a hook through here, and I'm going to use the stock OEM hook here when I pull the engine out. So I'll do that. I'll get these 4 off, and I'll be able to get the pump off. It'll be the same principle as the power steering pump. You just put it aside. But when I'm ready, I'll put it aside. The demo in my case, I mean, not a mistake, but anyways, would be easier to get the throttle cable out of the way and the cruise control cable here on the throttle body, because it comes around here and it goes back there. It'll be in the way when I go to remove the air compressor for the air conditioning. So it's pretty easy. I like to use one of these ratchets there to have the swivel. See, it's 2 10 millimeters. They're loose now. You can probably get them out by finger, with your finger. And afterwards, I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so I got these 2 10 millimeters off. Pretty easy. After that, you push that forward like so. You can see the cable. That's a safety, so it doesn't come out. You pull this one out. And then you pull the other one out. Wrap it around like so. That one should come out. And there we go. Yeah, come on. Looks easier said than done, huh? There we go. Just push on the throttle there. It should come out. Come on. Just push on the throttle. Come on, baby. There we go. And then you just pull it out of the way. And by the way, you have the 2 spark plug wires that hook onto this here. Just unhook those. And what you can do after is you have, see here on the air conditioning hose here, that's why I wanted to get these out of the way. You just pop that off. And I just, what I usually do is I just feed it through. Or you could just wait, there you go, feed that through. Come on. There's so much, look at all these wires. Crap. Stereo systems, HID. These young kids, eh? Going for the bling factor. But anyways, you get the picture. I'm going to try to get this sucker out. So, oh, there we go. That's what I do is I just pull it out like so. And you just put it aside. I just usually leave it up here. So I don't scratch the paint. I just throw it up there. Tuck it into the wipers. And there we go. Now that's out of the way. Now we have room to work around the AC compressor. Now this is the next thing that's going to come out. Alright, so I got all the 4 bolts out. This one, that one, this one, and the one back there. I suggest taking that one out last, because what's going to happen is the socket's going to hit the intake manifold here. And we'll get it out. And there's one here as well. It's loose. So now now it's all loose here. All you do is you just grab it somehow. You just pull it out of the way like so. Probably do a better job at doing this, but it's kind of hard with one hand, so you guys get the picture. So that's out of the way. so now the engine is pretty much ready to come out. What I usually do last is I disconnect the fuel lines last because it stinks gas. So I usually take those off last, and when I put the engine back in, that's the first thing that goes back on, just to get rid of the smell. But it's pretty straightforward. What I would do is I would take a Sharpie or a marker or something and write the T for top, M for middle, and then L for lower. But the top one is bigger, the middle one is the same size as the top one, and the bottom one is smaller. But like I said, tag them. You can use anything, tape, whatever. But because if you don't put that back right, your car is not going to start. So we're there now. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen the pitchfork. Pretty straightforward. There's no danger. I mean, I'll get this undone, and I'll get the two nuts underneath as well for the engine mounts, which is pretty easy, and also the exhaust manifold. Alright, exhaust manifold, how to get it out. It's pretty easy. It's not too complicated. You have three 14mm studs on each side. One, two, and one's behind here. And then you have, can't really see it. And then you have up there, the camera's blocking the way. Where is it? Come on. There it is. That nut right there, that's your engine mount. You have one on each side, that's it. And I believe that's a 15mm. You loosen that, and that's it for the bottom. What you do is you go on top, and then you pull the engine up, and then I'm going to show you how you need to put something underneath the tranny to hold the tranny up, because if you don't, it'll be difficult to split the block. So I'll show you that later. Okay, so now I'm going to be removing the starter. I got a 14mm bolt here with a ground on it, and there is another one underneath. I don't know if you can see it, but it should be down there somewhere. Just underneath and there. Can't really see it. It's down there. Just underneath. Gotta get that off. Once you get the starter off, you have access to the bottom nut for the tranny. And while we're here, you can see the heater core hoses. Those have to come off, because if you don't, they'll come with the engine, so you have to pull those off. So I'll be doing that right now. So I'll be back in a bit. Okay, so I just removed the, I have two nuts and two bolts, okay? And you have a nut under here, with this little steel bracket here, with all the wires there, you can't really tell. Then you have one, the other one is here, there, and then the other one is there. That's two bolts. And the other nut is way down there, but it's accessible. Just gotta watch the O2 sensor wire. So you have a nut down there, the bolts. So you have two bolts on this side and two nuts. Once that's off, the engine, she's coming off. So there you go. So that's it for getting the tranny untied from the engine. There's not much to it, guys. Pretty simple. So now the next step is to pull it out. I'll be filming then. Alright, so now I started to get the engine out. What you do is what I do is I leave a nut in to keep the engine together. Some engines are really hard to get out. People tend to slide in a 2x4 underneath and whack from underneath the car against the head. I'm strongly against that, because you can screw up the head gaskets while doing that. What you can do too is between the block and the transmission, you can use either an old, I use an old wood chisel. Yeah, an old wood chisel, and then I just whack it in there gently. You are going to mar the aluminum between the block and the transmission. You don't have a choice, because there's two dowel pins on each side. I'll show you later once the engine is out. It's really hard to get out. So first things first, what you do is you lift the engine. The reason why you lift the engine up is because you have to clear the two studs on each side for the engine mounts. There's a slot in the cross member, so these studs fit in there. So to get the engine forward, you have to lift it up to clear the subframe. And at the same time, what you want to do is I put a jack underneath the transmission. You can see it down there. I'll go underneath the car. It's pretty simple. All you have to do is make sure you're on the casing. You can see it right there, the red part. It's on the casing of the transmission, and all the jack is doing is just supporting the weight of the transmission to keep it up because if you don't support the transmission, when you pull the engine forward, the tranny is going to drop, and you don't want that to happen. So just support it. It's in its transmission mounts. All it'll do is roll. It'll rotate around the actual axes of the drive shaft. So that's about it. And as you can see, the engine is lifted up. The transmission mounts, you can see, not the transmission, but the engine mounts, you see right there. The studs are out of the subframe. So we're ready to pull it forward. So all you have to do now is make sure the fuel lines are out. I loosened them last night, and so I'm going to take them off because I don't want it to smell gas in here. So yeah, so now all I have to do now is take off the fuel lines, the 3 of them, and and also remember, very important, also these wires here. These are the only 2 wires you need to disconnect from the engine. These wires go to the actual ECU that go through the firewall here. So it's pretty simple. All you have to do is press on the tab here and just slide them back. As you can see, they're pretty protected from the environment and all that. I already loosened them, so you're gonna probably fight a bit more, but it's not too hard. You just push on the tab there and you just slide them back, and there you go. I also disconnected the oxygen sensor. You don't have a choice because one of the lower stud has a nut and also a little tank to hold the wire for the oxygen sensor, so it doesn't wrap around the axle. Because you don't want the oxygen sensor wire to wrap around the axle. Total annihilation, destruction. So that's it. So I'm ready to pull it out. All I have to do now is remove the fuel lines. As you can see, I already backed up the clamps there. They're just a Phillips head. Pretty simple. And to any hose that you want to get off, you might want to use a pair of pliers lightly to crack the, because they tend to stick. So you just use a pair of pliers there and just slowly rotate it around the tube. You'll hear it cracking, and as you're rotating, just pull on it, and then once you see it starting to come back, you just stop with the pliers and just pull it off. So that's about it. She's ready to come out. Once I remove those hoses, gas is going to come up for sure. So if you want a little pot or something just to put there to just let the residual fuel from the filter here flow into the pot, and if you want to, while you're at it, if you want to, you could always change your fuel filter too. May as well do that. It's cheap. Why take a chance? And there, like I said, I have 1 nut left to take off, and then she's about to come out. So that's about it, guys. It's pretty straightforward. So once I have it out, I'll show you the rear part of the engine with the clutch and the flywheel, and we'll come back for that later. One more thing. Put something in front of the condenser. I did in my wife's car. I had to do the head gaskets on her 97 Outback. Unfortunately, they gave out. Common problem in those years. While putting the engine back in, I was alone. I usually work alone, but anyways, put a piece of wood or a piece of plywood or something, because what happened is her engine hit the condenser. I made a hole in the condenser. All the Freon and all the oil for the pump and all that came out, so not too happy about that. But anyways, it was a quick fix. Still a pain in the arse, but anyways. So, like I said, put a piece of wood or something in front of it, strong, because if the engine tilts forward, you know, because you're gonna be roughing it to get it out. It's not easy. But once it's out, she comes out pretty good. So that's it. So I'll be back later with more information. There you have it. I have it split now. That's all there is to it. Now, as you're raising the engine, make sure you clear things. There's the hose for the air conditioner right here. So what I'd like to do is I like to raise it, pump on the engine lift a bit. Stop, check, move the engine around. Okay, it's free. Okay, everything is good. Keep on going. Oh, it's binding. That's okay. It's just on the hose here, see? There's no pressure. There you go. Piece of wood came in handy because it did knock on the front, but not hard. It just rather hit the piece of wood than the frickin' condenser. Don't want that to happen again. And you pull it up slowly, stop. By now you should be clear of everything. Nothing, no studs, just those studs in the block there, especially the lower ones. But there's a lot of room in these cars, especially the Outback. It's longer. So Forester and the Impreza. It's a smaller car, so yeah, something's funny. Ah, you see, look. See? Told you. I have a ground there I gotta remove, you see? Even the experienced sometimes forget things. It's kind of hard too though, when you thinking about filming and working at the same time. It's not easy. I tend to do this alone, and when I do this alone, it's clockwork for me. But thinking about filming, when I'm gonna film, what am I gonna film? So anyways, it gives you an idea, see? So even I made a mistake. You know, we're all human. So I'm gonna take that off. I don't know if I should take it off the block or off the probably easier out of the chassis. You know. Yeah, it'll be less things dangling in the engine bay. So I'm gonna remove that, and then once that's removed, I'm gonna pull the engine out, and you can see the back here. Here's your clutch and everything, your flywheel and all that stuff. And if you go over here, you got the transmission and you have the pilot bearing. I'm gonna show you how to change that too. It's worth it when you have the clutch off. May as well. So we'll change that as well. So I'll be back in a bit. All right, now that I have the Subaru engine out of the hole. Hello. All right. I'll explain a bit about the engine here. Here's your coil pack, spark plug wire, spark plugs are in here. This is your idle air controller. Your NOx sensor is down here underneath the hose. That's your NOx sensor right there with the nut on top there, with the bolt I should say. And here's the wire. That's your NOx sensor. And your temperature sensor is the plug here. Right there, that's your temperature sensor. And obviously your fuel injector wires and all that. And in the front here, this is your cam position sensor. And this one here is your crank position sensor. That one there. And this one here, this is your oil pressure sensor. That's your oil pressure sensor. That's pretty much it. That's your MAP sensor, MAP, manifold absolute pressure. These cars have it as of, I believe, 99 and up. I could be wrong, but I know as a fact from 2000 and up they have a MAP sensor. They got rid of the MAF sensor, which is the mass airflow sensor, which are pretty problematic. It's just like a little wire inside, and they break and then your car acts up funny and all that, but that's about it. So that's the engine air, it's out. And then we're going to start removing the clutch here. These bolts here, I'm going to get them out. That'll remove the clutch, and I'll show you guys that once it's finished, removed. And after that I'll remove the flywheel, because the gentleman that brought me the car wants me to put on a lightened, I believe it's a Fidenza flywheel. So that's it. Oh yeah, forgot here too. This is your throttle position sensor. Be on the chain here. Right here, that's your throttle position sensor right there. So that's it. That's it for the motor. Not much here. Pretty simple. Pretty simple engine. Not too bad. Look underneath and you can see your engine mounts here. The engine mounts are here. Yeah. All it is a stud. Pretty wildly. And you have your exhaust ports coming out of the head there. Pretty much your oil filter, blah blah blah. All that. And this is the subframe where those engine mounts go into. You can see the little markation there. He's got a little leak there in his rack and pin in there. A little leak. And this is your thrust bearing. That's your fork here. When you shift, when you push on the clutch, it's hydraulic actuated and pushes on this, and that's what pushes on your clutch, is that fork here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this whole bearing. And not too bad. And it's pretty noisy, but it's worth it while you have the car off. Remove that. Going to remove the fork. Going to grease everything because they usually creak. So that's what I'll do. So now I'm going to remove the clutch. Here we got the clutch, and you can see here. If you look there, you can see some burn marks on there. It overheated, I'm sure. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Here's the clutch. Got some glazing on there. I don't know if you could see it with the light. Nice glazing. Oh yeah. Pretty bad shape. Not too bad. I've seen worse. Pressure plate was blue. And then here's the flywheel. Look. Lord of God. You can see all the burn marks on there and discoloration. Sometimes when you have a clutch like that, it tends to hop on you because it wants to grab and slide. So anyways, so I'm going to get this off. I'm going to remove these bolts here. Pretty easy. They're not, nothing's torqued too tight. It's not too bad. When I put the new one back on, I'll get the torque specs out and I'll show you guys what and I'll mention the torque specs. And also here's your bearing here that slides into the shaft, prevents play. This guy here, that slides into this bearing here. That's your pilot bearing, I think. So change that while you're at it. So next step is I'll remove the flywheel and I'll show you guys what it looks like underneath the flywheel and the engine block. Grease. Alright, so that's my next step. So there you have it. Took off the flywheel on the ground here. Comes out pretty easy. The back side of the flywheel will stay in here. Pretty precision. That's your crank. That's the rear of your crank here. The brown thing is your crank seal. I told him to get another one, but I don't know, for some reason the dealer gave him the wrong one. I don't know why. But anyways, I advise to change this seal here. May as well do it while you're at it. So, because if, hey, you never know, 5,000 kilometers or a couple of 1,000 miles down the road, if she decides to leak, you got to do all this process again for nothing. So, may as well change that while you're at it. I'm probably going to go get one at the dealer. I'm going to get the proper one. So yeah, so that's it. So now we're ready to put on the new flywheel and the new clutch. So I'll come back when I'm ready to do that. Okay, so here's the new flywheel. It's an XD. Thought it was a Fidenza, but it's an XD. So is the clutch. Stage 1, I have that on my Forester. And when I pull my boat, it's okay. But when I try to get out of the water, if I don't give enough gas, the engine will kill the engine. So I got to really give it gas and then let go of the clutch. And unfortunately, sometimes all four wheels spin. What a shame, eh? Makes a nice show at the boat launch anyways. So here's the new pressure plate. As you can see, it's nice and shiny, it's oily. So I'm going to be using some brake cleaner to get all the crap off. Because they use a protective coating, prevents some corrosion from happening. And to install the pilot bearing is pretty simple. What you gotta do is you gotta find a socket that has the same diameter as the outer shell, because you don't want to have the socket bang on this part because you're gonna damage your bearing, and you don't want to damage the plastic casing here. That's what keeps your bearing sealed. So you find a socket that'll fit on there. You just go in your socket set and you just match it up, and you make sure that the edge here, that these edges here actually sit on top of that. You could either whack it in slowly with a hammer, just gently, make sure you're straight because you don't want to go in crooked, or unfortunately my milling machine is pretty dirty there. As you can see, I've been so bloody busy with renovations and working on my Ram Cummins and working on oh god, a whole bunch of stuff, so I haven't had time. As you can see, my garage is a frickin' mess. I can't stand it. It drives me nuts. Drives me crazy. I'm a clean freak. When I was working in a machine shop before, they called me the surgeon because my table was always clean with these blue rags and tools everywhere, and they were all like nicely but as you can see, my garage is a dump. It drives me nuts. So anyways, that's it. Enough of my private life here. So that's it. So now I'm going to install this on the actual engine, and I will go get the torque specs before I get my hands dirty. Very important. When you obviously they're dirty now because I was playing with stuff, but anyways, make sure your hands are clean when you play around with this stuff, because you want that stuff to be clean, non-greasy once it's on there. But once I get the flywheel on there, I'll clean it and make sure my hands are clean too, to make sure I don't contaminate the pressure plate and the actual clutch itself. I don't want to put oil or dirt or anything on it. So that's it. So I'll put this on the engine, and I'll go get the torque specs, and I shall be back in a bit. Alright, torque specs is 52.8 foot-pounds, 53, blah blah blah. Okay, a lot of people are going to say, okay, well, how do you prevent the engine from twisting on in the engine crane? Well, you just use an engine stand, and then you just put the two lower studs in there, prevent it from turning. And then how do you prevent the flywheel from turning while you're torquing? Pretty simple. You take one of the bolts that is used for the pressure plate. Use a wrench. I just use a wrench. Just screw it in there lightly. Wrench. So when you torque, the wheel's going to want to go this way, the flywheel, so it's going to push against this stud. And there you have it. Now I'm ready to torque, so I'll torque this baby up. Okay, so I just cleaned the flywheel with some brake cleaner. Here's the tool that they supply. Little plastic tool here. It's got spines in it for the spline. And now what you want to do is this side is towards the pressure plate and that side is towards the engine, as you can see. Anyways, you'll find out. It's pretty simple. You take this little end here, you just put it in the pilot bearing, slide it in, boop, like that. And then afterwards, you take the pressure plate, and you got to line up the dowel pins. So you got a dowel pin here. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. Anyways, I'll try to do it with one hand here. One-handers. I also cleaned that. Very important. You don't want oil or grease on there. So line it up like so. Jesus, ever hard. One hand, as you can see. Sorry about the camera here. Maybe I should put it there. There we go. One dowel pin.